Today I have in front of me something that claims to make things super cold, super quickly without diluting it, and it's called the HyperChiller. I've had the HyperChiller for a couple years now, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not I think it was worth the purchase. So this is how it basically works, is there's a couple inner chambers in here. So you pour liquid through the top right here, and what that does is it puts it between two forms of ice. So right now I have a Chemex full of coffee, and I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit of coffee in here, and we are going to measure the temperature now, and then it should be within 60 seconds, it should be fixed to make it drastically colder. So this was brewed probably 5 minutes ago or so by the time I set up everything for this, and it looks like we are about 100, and it's still going up a little bit. These aren't the fastest thermometers in the world, but it looks like we are, man, this is still creeping up here. We're over 120 degrees. About 130 degrees is where we are at here, so I'm just going to pour this back into the Chemex here. Spill a little bit. And this holds about 12 ounces in the HyperChiller, and you just simply pour it in the top here. And you kind of have to just eyeball how much 12 ounces is, but you can kind of tell when it gets to be a little too much. It'll kind of sit at the top here. But if you have a little less than 12 ounces, what that does is it helps it chill quicker, and it's easier to tell if it's cold or not. So what you're going to do is you're going to simply start a timer, and you should be able to just squirrel it, and we're going to see how much it drops within the time frame of 60 seconds like it claims to instantly chill it. So the nice thing about this is this allows you to make a pour over coffee, and you can make an iced coffee without diluting it or without flash brewing it or without waiting 24 hours for cold brew or even an hour with the new bean seeker that released to make iced coffee a little quicker. So it is a pretty useful thing if you have it. Another nice thing is you can use it for tea, you can use it for wine, or if you like simply just like you want a cold Gatorade or something like that and you just bought it from the store, throw it in this and you should be good to go. So we've had about 40 seconds now. The build quality of this thing is fairly decent. It's hard plastic. It lives basically in my freezer till I use it, which is not a ton, but it is nice to have when I do have it in there. So we are about 60 seconds here, and obviously the shorter amount, the more warm it will be, and the longer amount, the colder it will be. So it looks like I did about 6 to 8 ounces or so in there, and we are going to check the temperature again. And that 60 seconds dropped it from about 130 degrees to 65 degrees. So rapidly chilled in a short amount of time for $25. This thing has been out for a while now. People have used this to compete with. It's a very, very good little brewer and does a fairly good job. Now the only thing that could make this better is if I did a better pour over. I just kind of made coffee to test it and I didn't weigh anything out. But it is chilled. It would be a little bit better with ice and give you a little bit colder, but the nice thing about it is it dropped it drastically without it being diluted with ice. So now when I add ice into it, the hot liquid is not going to melt the ice and it will be fine in that way. So this is a 3-part thing, and this is what it looks like after it's been used. So you have this little inner chamber here, and then you have the, I'm going to pour a little bit of that water out. So you can just refreeze this as is and just rinse it a little bit. So you have a big old chunk of ice there on the center, and that is what cools it. There's little line indicators to kind of help you realize that. And there's still quite a bit in there. And then inside this, this top portion of it is where your liquid goes and where there's another ice. So this canister holds your liquid, and this is what's going to be that chills it. And you can simply just rinse this out in your sink to rinse out any of that residue in there. And then inside this core center piece is where there is another big block of ice. And so basically you have liquid in this cup, and ice sits around it on the inside, and then ice sits around it on the outside through this. So this piece is captured in between two pieces of ice, which makes it rapidly chill it without diluting it, and it does a phenomenal job in my opinion in it, and you got a nice iced coffee in a matter of just 60 seconds after you brew, of course, which is way quicker than anybody else. And typically what I find is you don't even have to swirl it. You can just simply leave it in there and then come back 5 minutes later or so and it will get the job done. But it's a nice piece of gear and very, very convenient for as quickly as it does. And it used to be more expensive, which made it more debatable, but now it costs $25 on Amazon, and if you're lucky and you hit a sale, it can be even cheaper than that. I've seen it as low as $12 for this, and it is very convenient. My pros to this is it does what it claims to do. It seems like it's built well, and it does the job well, so build quality, and it does what it claims to do. My biggest con with it, though, is it does take up a good amount of space and it doesn't chill a lot. So if you're making iced coffee for 2, you are pushing it at 12 ounces total, so 2 6-ounce glasses. However, you can just add more coffee to it after you've chilled the first one, but it doesn't do as good of a job the second time. It is nice though that you can refreeze it without having to do much cleaning, but it does dilute it quite a bit. You saw all the water that I poured into the Chemex earlier. But overall, this is a great piece of gear. It's super worthwhile for the price, and it's something nice to have on hand if you want to chill a drink rather quickly without having to wait for hours for cold brew, or you just want something in your house chilled. It's a nice little trick to have up your sleeve and a nice little thing to have sitting in your coffee bar. So if you have any questions about this, please let me know. If you could please like and subscribe, that helps me produce more content. In the year of 2024, I'm going to be doing a lot of giveaways, so stay tuned for that and don't miss out on that. Thank you so much for watching.